When you're ready.
All right, thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to call to order the North Canton City Council regular meeting, March 8th, 2021.
All right, thank you,
Time
sir.
7:01. Mark, Dominic, you want to lead us in prayer?
Tom, if you're okay, I will, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it this time.
Go ahead, Tom.
Lord, thank you for letting us all be together and healthily and working through the different angles that we have to do our business in the betterment of our constituents. And we always try to put the best foot forward and do the right thing. We're human, so of course we're always looking for guidance, and let's work in harmony and make sure that we're all blessed and we watch out from one another and our constituents, and let's get the goals met of the betterment of the city. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dominic. All right, at this time, if you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time, Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Warren?
Here, sorry.
Member Fonte?
Here.
Member Foltz?
Here.
Member Revolt?
Here.
Member Shreda?
Here.
Member Stroya?
Here.
And Member Peters.
Here.
7 present.
All right, thank you. Next up for your consideration, a motion and a second to approve as presented. Minutes from February 17th, 2021, Committee of the Whole. Minutes from February 22nd, 21, City Council. Chapter 151, Volunteer Firefighters Dependent Fund Board as created by Ordinance 10-21. The liquor permit transfer request, Howland Bird at 123 South Main Street, and the February 2021 monthly finance report.
Foltz motions to approve as presented.
Where?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, at this time, recognition of visitors. We have 2 speakers tonight, Mr. Osborne, Mr. Mulqueen. Just a friendly reminder, we have a 5-minute time limit, and we ask that you keep your comments brief and respectful. Ben, at this time, I'll let you take over.
Mr. Osborne, are you there?
I am here.
When you're ready.
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. I would like to address my comments to Ordinance 23, 2021, the very last one on your agenda regarding sewer and water rates. The sewer increases amount to a 75% increase over 5 years. 15% per year. Now, I do understand that this is a pass-through, that basically it's the city of Canton. I guess it's dictating our water rates, our sewer rates, but I don't know whether we've gotten behind on keeping up with them, but this is a pretty hefty increase. We're paying $805 a year now, and in 5 years, it's going to be almost double, over $14. So that's a little hard to swallow. The water rates, 5% increase per year. Basically, at the end of 5 years, we're looking at a 17% increase by the 5th year. The question I'd like to ask, and I guess there's some facts I should bring to the forefront now. I guess it's been a practice. I don't know when it got started, how it got started. I question the legality of this, but I am aware that the city administrator's salary, 50% of his salary is coming out of the sewer fund and 50% out of the water fund. And I can't imagine that our city administrator spends 100% of his time on sewer and water issues. We do have supervisors for the water and sewer, a city administrator is basically a management oversight. So, given that the city administrator's salary, and I'd also like to ask, are there any other non-sewer employees or non-water department employees being paid out of these utilities? So I'd like that answered here shortly at the meeting. And I'd also like to ask, are these increases fueling the rapid rise in salaries that we see going on at City Hall? I know just a year or so ago, the city administrator was up at $118,000 a year, and I don't know what the latest is. I think it's about $125,000 a year. But these salary increases, I think you're plundering the sewer fund and the water fund. I don't know if the new council members realize that these salaries are being poached out of the utility funds, and I'd like this discussed and answered. And I just don't think this is on the up and up, but it's been, I don't know whether this began when the downsizing of the Hoover Company and the city was looking for other sources of revenue, and they just jumped on the fact that, hey, here's free money. It's kind of hidden. We can fund these salaries, and nobody's the wiser. So with that, I'll keep it short. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mulqueen, are you there?
Hello, how we doing?
When you're ready, sir.
All right, my name is Joseph Mulqueen. I'm a proud disabled recovering alcoholic at 1016 Park Avenue Northeast, and what brings me to another meeting again tonight is just to help encourage and let our city government know that we at Dogwood, we may not have every single ramp, but we have the best skate park in Stark County, because whenever you go to Dogwood Skate Park, you won't catch anybody drinking alcohol there like you might see at 9th Street or Akron and the other surrounding areas in Stark County. And I'm just here to thank the city for letting me have something I could have as a kid that I can enjoy, we saw Tom Brady school Patrick Mahomes here in the Super Bowl, and I plan on skateboarding until I'm 50 like Gordie Howe did in hockey, and I hope one day I can see an 18-year-old skateboarder at Dogwood when I'm skateboarding there at 50, and skateboarding is now an Olympic sport. And I come here exhausted. I just bought 6 more skateboards to give to the kids at the skate park, and making sure all the kids have a new board before they do this game of skate for a free board. They, first, second, and third place is going to take home a free board. My buddy who's got a skate shop in Pennsylvania donated wheels and bearings, so now they're going to get wheels and bearings too. And this retired pro skateboarder now, father amongst many other job titles he has in this world, he just wrote this book called My First Skateboard, and a fellow skateboard graphic illustrator did the illustration. And I bought 3 of these books. I want to give one. I went to Claremont Elementary, so I need to donate there, because it feels like yesterday I was a kid there reading the skateboarding books. And I went to school there in 2000s, and all the skateboarding books there were just, they're from the 70s and 80s. So I'm just trying to give back everything I've taken from skateboarding by, the city having this awesome idea of building the skate park. The skate park really helps keep these kids out of trouble. So I'm just here to help encourage our city council to let's get some type of skate park that could be a semi-qualifying park for maybe the Olympics or the Street League. And let's bring the Olympics of skateboarding to North Canton, because I think that'd be a really great thing for the skateboarding scene here, and it would be great for the city. And you know, I can't thank this city enough for giving me somewhere I can go to down the street, you know, whether I got to blow off some steam or it's just a nice sunny day, and, you know, I'm just enjoying the day at the park with my friends, and I just want to make sure kids have that for the next 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20. Hopefully, you know what I mean, if we can, now that skateboarding's in the Olympics now, if we can help create the Olympic skateboarding standard in North Canton, let's carry that tradition for as long as we've seen the Olympics, you know, been around since, you know what I mean, humans have, you know, walked this planet. So I know it's not the first time a person from North Canton has made it to the Olympics, but I'm just trying to do everything possible now that I'm getting older to help give back everything I took from skateboarding and help, you know, give that kid the same kind of, you know, stoke and passion I get from skateboarding. And, you know, I just can't thank this town enough for that, because this is the best way I know how to grieve the loss of my father, who was a cross guard for the town. And, you know we lost him to cancer October 7th of 2019. And, you know, I just, you know, come here to thank the town for giving me 19 years of skateboarding. And, you know, God and Jesus as my witness, I hope I get to skateboard till at least 50 like Gordie Howe got with hockey, and Tony Hawk's still out there. And, you know, hope I get the same luck. And thank you for the time, and God bless.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. All right, folks, let's move on to old business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 7-21?
Revolt moves.
Bolt seconds.
Go ahead, seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion
Abstain.
carries.
Soretta and Fonte abstain.
Oh, I'm
Thank you.
sorry. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds of the city of North Canton to be appropriated for current expenses during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
Thank you. Chairwoman Warren.
We have talked about this a couple times, and the other week, Margaret talked about the different expenses, and this is one of the final ones, just to, I guess, for completion a little bit of Arrowhead, and we have a lot of different bookings happening, so it will make it look very nice. And then the $3,000 for the civil service. If no other questions, I move to adopt.
Revolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
believe
Aye.
the Director of Finance wanted to request an amendment.
Yes.
My
aye.
apologies, yes.
Yeah.
We received a police donation
Yep.
that we would like to add to the appropriations amendments from Burris Jewelers for $1,255.36. And Burris Jewelers is purchasing for the police department 12 first responder trauma kits and 26 CAT tourniquets for the police to carry on themselves.
Yes, thank you, Gina. I missed that one. May I have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 7-21 to include
Oh,
additional?
Revolt will amend.
All right.
Bolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Member Soretta and Fonte abstain. Okay, now may I have a motion and a second to adopt the second reading of ordinance 7-21 as amended?
Revolt moves.
Aaron, second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain.
Member Soretta and Fonte abstain. All right, moving on to new business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 2-21?
Revolt moves.
Soretta
Aaron,
second.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Abstain.
Then
Abstain, Dominic.
Member Fonte abstains.
An ordinance
Ben-
repealing and replacing Part 17 Housing Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton.
Thank you. Chairman Revolt.
If we have time tonight, I'd like to read this page by page.
Daryl's got jokes.
Seriously, we discussed this at great length last week. What we will be doing tonight is offering this up on the first reading for this and for all other related community and economic development issues. And these would be items 8C through K. And just to save us a little time this evening, 8C, D, and E involve the management and operational structure that will be used to implement Ordinance 2-21. And then items 8F through K incorporate existing chapters of our codified ordinance into this maintenance code. So we're, as Ben prepared that index last week, we're just literally picking up from one location in our code and putting it into this housing code. So, does anyone have any questions about item 8A, ordinance 2-21? I'll take the silence as a no. Questions? So with that, can we have a motion to adopt the? I move we adopt the first reading of ordinance 2-21.
Holt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Fonte abstains.
Fonte abstains. And Daryl, I'm assuming, is it okay for me to just go ahead and start moving through these?
Let's pick up. We're a little out of order here. We've got the next item is the zone change over at
Okay.
the church. So let's do that, and then we'll just run through these. Just
Right.
bang through them. They need no introduction.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 3-21?
Shredder moves.
All in,
Shredder seconds.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of North Canton to reclassify 309 Lindy Lane Northwest, Stark County parcel number 9205115, as recommended by the Planning Commission in accordance with the amendment procedure set forth in Chapter 1181 of the Planning and Zoning Code, from park and institutional to one family residential small R50, in order to bring the zoning district's map and pertinent parcels in line with the current uses, together with providing opportunities for future residents and businesses.
All right, thank you. Chairman Revolt.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. For those who are not familiar with this issue, the church had a manse which was located at 309 Lindy Lane. It no longer uses that house for its parsonage, and it is now leasing that house and needs to bring that house into compliance with our zoning. So what we are going to do is move that parcel from P&I to R50, which is the appropriate designation. It's consistent with everything around it in terms of zoning. We held a public hearing last week, and there were no objections to the zoning. Are there any questions? If there are none, I move we adopt the first reading of ordinance 3-21.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 11-21?
Revolt moves.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance establishing the Department of Development Services for the city of North Canton.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 12-21.
Revolt moves.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain, Dominic.
Member Fonte abstains. Ben?
An ordinance establishing the Property Maintenance Review Board for the city of North Canton.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Shredder second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Fonte abstain.
Fonte abstains. Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 13-21.
Revolt moves.
Do I have a second?
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Fonte abstains.
Fonte abstains. Ben?
An ordinance amending certain sections of Chapter 139, Department of Engineering of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton in order to remove the Division of Permits and Inspections.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain, Dominic.
Member Fonte abstains. Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 14-21.
Revolt moves.
Shredder second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain, Dominic.
Member Fonte abstains. Ben?
An ordinance repealing certain sections of Chapter 505, Animals and Fowl of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Shredder second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain, Fonte.
Member Fonte abstains. Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 15-21.
Shredder moves.
Revolt seconds.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain. Abstain, Dominic.
Member Fonte abstains. Ben?
An ordinance repealing Chapter 519, Graffiti of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton.
All right. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Fonte abstains.
Member Fonte abstains. Motion carries. All right. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 16-21.
Revolt moves.
Shredder
Where second?
Good.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain, Dominic.
Member Fonte abstains. Ben?
An ordinance repealing portions of Chapter 521, Health, Safety, and Sanitation of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton.
All right. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Where second?
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Fonte abstain.
Member Fonte abstains. Motion carries. All right. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 17-21.
Revolt moves.
Where second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Fonte abstain.
Member Fonte abstains. Ben?
An ordinance repealing Chapter 553, Weeds, Trees, and Grass of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton.
All right. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Where second?
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Fonte abstain.
Member Fonte abstains. Motion carries. All right. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 18-21.
Revolt moves.
Where moves? Second.
Second. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Fonte abstain.
Member Fonte abstains. Ben?
An ordinance amending Chapter 719, Rubbish Haulers of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton to include provisions formerly codified in Chapter 521.
All right. Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Fonte abstain.
Member Fonte abstains. Motion carries. All right. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 19-21.
Revolt moves.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Fonte abstain.
Fonte abstains. Ben?
An ordinance amending Chapter 907, Street Excavations of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton to include provisions formerly codified in Chapter 521.
All right. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Shredder seconds.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Fonte abstain.
Fonte abstains. Motion approved. Okay, all right. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 20-21?
Revolt moves.
Revolt seconds.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance continuing the community reinvestment area tax incentive agreement between the City of North Canton and 331 Harmon Street Southwest and declaring the same to be an emergency.
All right, Chairman Revolt, since these are both on emergency, you have any final comments on either one of these?
No, they were the both projects were reviewed for compliance with the requirements. Both were found in full compliance and will be recommended to the Tax Incentive Review Council.
Okay.
So we're good.
Right. May I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading?
Revolt moves.
Reddis seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
Revolt moves.
Reddis seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 20-21 under suspension.
Revolt moves.
Reddis seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 21-21?
Revolt moves.
Reddis seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance continuing the community reinvestment area tax incentive agreement between the City of North Canton and 1303 to 1305 North Main Street and declaring the same to be an emergency.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to adopt?
Hang on just a second.
Oh,
Ben,
yeah,
do you have a copy of the corrected ordinance?
Yes.
We had a typo in this, and we want to make sure that everybody's aware. It was a minor issue that's been cleaned up right there.
Okay.
So we had a little discrepancy. So that is what we're voting on. So, Mr. President, I move we adopt the first reading of ordinance 21-21.
All right.
Reddis seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings.
So move. Revolt moves.
Reddis seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 21-21 under suspension.
Revolt moves.
Reddis seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 22-21?
Revolt moves. Revolt seconds.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the City of North Canton, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into a contract for the installation of a vehicle exhaust venting system at North Canton's fire stations at a cost not to exceed $110,000.
Okay, and we talked about this last week. What portion of this is paid by Grant, Pat?
About 90%.
90%? Okay. Any other questions for Pat regarding this? All right, seeing none. May I have a motion? Was that a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Seeing none, may I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading of ordinance 22-21?
Revolt moves.
Reddis seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 23-21?
Revolt moves.
Revolt seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance amending Part 9, Streets, Utilities, and Public Services, Title 3, Utilities, of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton, specifically Chapter 927 Sewer Rentals, Chapter 937 Water Rates, and Chapter 939 Special Water and Sewer Rates for Elderly and Disabled, to set water and sewer rates for 2022 through and including 2026.
All right, thank you. Chairman Serrata.
Yeah, I got a few things I want to go through here. Last week, we introduced this ordinance, and there's a lot of moving parts to it, as you heard from Ben. And as chairman, I'm not comfortable just spending 10 minutes like we did last week talking about what it is. And I'd like to talk about what effect it has on our community and our customers. So I'd like to just discuss for a little bit, and because as it stands now, I respectfully cannot support it. So if you just let me go through it, and then we can make comments, and we can go forward with whatever way you guys want to go with it. But the moving parts include a water rate hike. In the first 3 years, it's 15%, and it's a total of 22% in the total 5 years. One of the other things, it eliminates the turn back on fee of $100 for a shut off due to non-payment, and increase the late payment then fee from 5% to 10% for those who don't pay their bill on time. And then eliminating the homestead program. These are accounts that have a discount for certain age groups and income-based folks. So when we look at the rates, and I'm going to, first of all, how did we get where we are right now? And I talked to Pat last week, and he explained it pretty good. In 2012, as a lot of you remember, we created this automatic increase based on the CPI, Consumer Price Index. Okay, that automatically increased the water rates based on consumer price increases. So we didn't have to come back every time for us. It just went up as consumer price increases. But it had a sunset provision after 5 years, and it ended in 2017. And we had changes in finance directors, administration, so it never made it back to us that it ended. So for the last 3 years, we have not had an increase in the water and sewer rates. Now, I get we have needs, and so now we have this proposal to increase the rates. Ben, do you want to put up that rate? So Gina was really great at making this. This really puts things in perspective and how we can understand what it really means in terms of dollars to our community and our customer. And here's what it says at the top. As you can see, it's a 5%, 5%, 5%, 3%, 3%. So that's the different rates here. And as you look at the rate graph, you can see the real world effect it has on our customers. So at first glance, the increase looks minor if you go all the way across. But these are monthly increases. So when you times these by 12 months, you get a total increase per year. So when we look at this here, and I know it's kind of hard to see when you look at the bold numbers here, especially here, bill average. When you look at these here, when you add all these up, in 5 years, our utility bill, and this includes projected Canton and county, and again, we can't control them, we understand that. But in 5 years, the projected bill, the difference between the bill today and the bill in 5 years for the average customer is $300 difference. That means when you add all these up, our bill in 5 years is going to be, for the average person in our town, is $300 more. In 3 years, it's $170 more than it was in today's world. Now, that just seems, and the outside rates are much higher than that. Let's so that's a lot to ask. And a couple things I want to bring up as we go through this. This will make us one of the highest, if not the highest rate in the area, in an increasing competitive market. We tout that our water is a big advantage for economic development. Okay, other available water companies are a street away at every corner. We could price ourselves out of future opportunities really easy. We will hopefully be coming out of this pandemic by the end of the year, but the unknown of the economy and there are a lot of people out there that are losing their jobs. We have no idea how this is going to affect. There's a lot of people out there struggling who are out without work. Remember, the average income rate in our city is in the mid 50,000s. Not a lot of room to work with. Elderly families, young families. Not everybody gets a 3 to 5% raise every year, and I think I've said that before. So our job is to help protect them. And in my opinion, this rate increase over 5 years may go too far in the future of our community. No room for adjustment, as Don would say, no room to adjust our sales when you're looking at this 5 rates. We haven't had an increase in 3 years. I get that. There are things we need. We need to get our water department where it needs to be in the future. But I would respectfully like to propose we maybe table this or look at a 3-year rate increase, maybe a 5, a 4, and a 3, and then look where we are with this thing, because this is very outstretching here where we're headed, in the 5-year mark. So that's the one part of it is the rate increase. The other couple parts here, as I mentioned before, eliminating the turn back on fee of $100. And Gina wants to try something new here. I'm okay with that. Is instead of having people pay $100 to get their water on, just make sure that we have an increase in the late fee to 10%. Now, I'm okay with trying that. I don't know if it's such a deterrent to keep people from repeatedly doing this, but it seems like she has good faith that this will, and I'm willing to try it if we look at the comparisons year by year and kind of keep up with it. And then the homestead program, again, this is for people that we're going to get rid of this, it looks like. I know we only have a few people there. They might get $1.70 a month, $2, something like that. But when they start looking at these new bills, it might be pretty overwhelming for those folks too. So those are the 3 thoughts that I had on that. I'm open up for discussion, and anybody else want to chime in, feel free to do it. But as it stands right now, I can't support this.
Mark, Dom here.
Yes, Dom.
So I always feel like when you live in the city and you pay city income tax, the incentives are that the utilities were always a little more affordable, which is water, sewer, and trash, right? And then the outside areas that we have businesses, we charge more, and that helps offset it. Now, I know we missed the window of opportunity for 3 years, and the cost, like lumber, just as an example, a 4x8 sheet of plywood was $10 last year. It's $30 this year. Lumber went up 130%. The cost of everything is going up so much. Gasoline, which affects the average Joe. Now, the homestead, just like with your property, if you have a primary home, you would get a discount on your taxes. An average of, say, $250 every 6 months, $500 a year, which is substantial. So when you add all these little compartments up, it's substantial. But I get, like, if I'm a retiree and I make, $60,000 a year on retirement, then I can see not getting the extra break. Not just because you're older, you shouldn't get it. You should get it because it's more of an income-driven thing. But as far as like the adjustments go, we're probably playing catch-up right now to try to get things brought back to snuff. I would be okay with maybe a 5-year plan, but maybe like a 3, 3, 2, 2, 2 or something like that, or maybe even a 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, so that it's just gradual to keep us, because we can't afford to run the utility and lose money. We have to have it sustain ourselves, but I know it's not for the purpose of profiting on, but I still think the people outside the area need to pay a little more, which they are, and we need to continue being a little more aggressive with expanding that to help offset our costs, because when you're paying 1.5% income tax, I think it's important to make sure there's some benefits there besides police, fire, and EMS and all that. So I would be more of a gradual adjustment, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 2 or something like that.
Thank you, Don. Anyone else?
I would
Mark.
like to speak, but I want to let council go first.
Okay. Mark, so I just had a question. When you were getting the 300, so you were adding up the increases for both, correct? And it was going to be a total of 300 more per year.
Right. If you look at the last one,
Yeah, I did.
Each one. Yeah, each one. Like for water, it's going to be.
And then you did it
5
per
years,
month.
it'll be $91 more a year, and for
Right.
sewer 85, trash 35. The total monthly bill for without the county and without is just over $200. But when you add the county in, it's over $300. The folks will be paying more than they are paying today in today's world.
In the total year, though, correct?
In the total year, right?
Okay. So I guess my question is, when you say you can't support it, and knowing that we're playing catch up, and knowing that we are just covering our costs to be a water distributor to our constituents, I guess what are your suggestions? I know you said a 3-year, but then, which we can come back at that point and do it again. But did you have any other thoughts or ideas on how else we make sure that we're even on this?
No, I think just having a modest increase. There's things we can change. I'm not going to go through the whole administrative thing. Pat will go through his side here, I'm sure. But that's an outreaching a lot of money to throw on our community right now, especially during, and I mentioned this, I'm not going to go through it, where we are right now with the economy and the unsuredness of it, and how we're going to do this 5-year plan with 22% increase over 5 years. That's a lot, and it makes us one of the highest, if not the highest again. I mentioned all that. I'm not going to go through that again, but I appreciate you asking.
Yes. Okay.
Hey,
I just didn't know if you had any other ideas, just because
This is just
I
the
believe-
3-year deal.
Yeah.
Catch up pretty
Okay.
quick with 5, 4, and 3, and see where we stand.
Hey,
Yeah.
Councilman Streditz, Councilman Foltz. I had a quick. I had something that it bothers me. We had that in place, and we just passed non-yearly, and we got to play catch up. I mean, that really. Maybe we should have paid better attention to that with the administration. But I think my big concern is here. We haven't had a rate increase since June 1st of 17. You're talking 4.5 years. Even if we go beginning of 2022, why don't we have some increase this year?
Sure.
So, even if it's 3%, let's get started so it starts this year.
Sure.
Why are we waiting 9 more months? That's
I don't
my
know.
question.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And maybe that's a way to maybe make it more reasonable for this term if we start collecting money, more efficiently now. That's my point.
I agree with that.
Good point.
I have a comment too. If I remember correctly, when we did the last rate increase, I remember the conversation being, and if I'm not mistaken, it was proposed out maybe even longer than 5 years, but we only went 5 years with the sunset provision that we would come back and look at it, and it never got looked at. And like Doug said, we are playing catch up here, and these proposed increase to 5.533, and Pat, you can talk to this. How we came up with that percent increase, and is this needed to keep us our head above water, no pun intended, in the water fund, because these can't be arbitrary numbers.
They're not.
So Pat,
You said
I guess
that last
They're
week.
not.
yeah. So
We
Pat,
went
I
over
guess
this last week.
you here and
Jeff,
Look,
hey, Pat,
Daryl, do you want to go or?
I'm gonna let
I'll
me
wait.
jump in here before we flip over to the administration side. And let me take just a little bit longer view here. Clearly, we have missed the boat over the last 4 years. All right. I think it's important that we all understand that when we run a public utility, we're subject to regulation by the state and the federal government. We're required to build in an operating reserve, somewhat loosely defined, but essentially we've got to have about a year's operating expenses squirreled away. The risk that we run if we're not compliant with that and don't have that fund and are not making an effort to get to that level is that we lose the ability to secure outside grants. And if you look at the page that accompanied some of the original materials, there's a list of projects, and you'll see that some of those projects are in fact funded in large part by outside grants. I understand that we may have an expensive system to run, but I'd also point this out. Over the last 25 years, we've basically rebuilt our in-ground infrastructure. We are probably in the best shape of any community in Stark County in terms of the condition of our water lines. I looked at, for example, I think we've got a Glendale project. I think it's $500,000. We're not assessing any of the residents for that. We're going to do that to ensure water quality. I think probably with the exception of Fultz, none of you remember the days when we had to open up fire hydrants to ensure that we weren't pumping rusty water into homes. All those issues, water quality issues, have gone away because we've invested in this system. I recognize that there's a cost to this, but you have a choice, I think. And this is the real choice. We're either going to run this system and comply with the law and deliver a quality product, or we're going to have to sell it. And I can assure you that if residents complain about a couple $100 coming to us, they're probably not going to like somebody else's service, because ours, frankly, is exceptional. And that, in effect, is what, in large part, what you're paying for, is a modern infrastructure that's up to date, that delivers a quality product. And if this was something less than that, I think we'd I think we'd have an easier decision. For example, I today asked about the cost of chemicals at the water treatment plant. Between 2017 and 2019, the cost of those chemicals went up 32%. Between 2017 and 2021, the cost of those chemicals is going up 50%. Our personnel go up, costs every year. So we've got to find a way to enhance revenue. You've got to pay attention to the rates. Now, maybe this is a solution, and here's what I'm going to propose. Let's put this into place. But let's come back. Let's come back and let's look at business consumption. The reason that when you look at business consumption rates in town and out of town, where they descend the more water you use, that was done for the Hoover Company. The Hoover Company's gone. So perhaps that might be an area that we can make an adjustment and recapture some of these funds. And I would leave that for some analysis and discussion. But, the risk is if we don't run this thing and you don't raise revenue and you don't maintain your accounts, we have a problem. And we're paying for this 5, 5, and 5 because, frankly, we didn't take care of business between 2017 and now.
So we'll penalize the consumers because we made an error. I'm just saying,
Dominic, listen, Dom. All I'm saying is this: I don't think we're penalizing anybody. They got to pass for 4 years. There was no rate increase.
So real quick, we had this $1 million project for the meter system, meter reading electronically. Yep. And the purpose of that was to catch breaks and catch things to save us money. Is that effectively working to offset some of this?
Yeah, it is, because you don't have people running around town reading meters.
Well, no, I meant there's like a computer signal sent if an unusual amount of water's being used, like there's a leak or a break. Yeah, that's what I thought was really one of the main purposes, not saving a couple meter people running around town.
Well, that couple hundred, those people were worth about $100,000 a piece all in. So,
okay. So are there any other ways to cut before we go 5, 5, 5 and whatever? I mean, I'm all for. I know we have to keep up with it because this is a huge asset. I just say we have to be a little more aggressive with selling our water. Like the people that have a well station over there that were not in the city. I mean, I would have really liked to sell them water. We'd be getting some extra revenue. So let's just be more aggressive and outside the city income taxpayers.
Don, there is a way you could save money, and that's don't do internally funded projects. You just don't do them. You defer them until things collapse.
Well, no, you got to be proactive with it, just like what we're doing. We're playing catch up on everything. Since Pat came on board, we got a generator, we got infrastructure, we got encryption. We got everything pretty well back dialed in because it slipped for so many years. So we're playing catch up. I get that. I know all about being prepared for the future. We don't curse the wind, we adjust ourselves. That's my motto. So we're doing the right thing. It's just, can we do different increments, like baby step it up, somehow? Or is there another way to, like you say, on the business side, instead of decreasing rates over usage, bump it up a little bit and to try to offset some of the percentages? That's all. And I think that's all Mark's looking for, is to see, is there another way to squeeze lemon make lemonade out of lemons, you know?
Hey, this is Troy. Let me curse at the wind here for a second. 17, 18, 19, if you take these charts, literally you should be adding 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 on here because we haven't had that increase. So people have gone 4+ years, and to compare our quality of water to our neighborhoods, like around us, there is no comparison. Our water is significantly better. So I do want to point that out. And we can't just say, hey, 5533, 55533. It's not a trivial number. There is some science behind this. So, I mean, we can say, oh, let's start with 3.3, but let's hear from Pat and the explanations of why they came up with that. I mean, we are behind, and I think we have to look at this as, are we going to run it as a business, or are we not going to?
Matt, I think that's great. And just a couple points, and Pat, I'll let you say, but one, I think the comment was made where these numbers are arbitrary. None of our numbers are arbitrary. It's government. Gina just doesn't sit there, or Pat, and think, what should it be this year? I mean, they're calculated, it's put together, it's based on a budget that we haven't met for 5 years. And then when we said, let's, and Dominic, I know you were saying, like, kidding.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's make lemonade over, or lemon over, whatever you said. Like, this is something that we have to take really serious. And to Daryl's point, like, this is government enforced. This isn't something that we're just randomly kind of doing as a side hustle. So this is really serious, and finally we're addressing it. Pat, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
All right.
Pat.
So thank you, all of you, for the wonderful dialogue on it. And if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind just going back a little bit. It's a matter of this issue is I'm sensitive to, because when I served on city council, you may or may not recall, but I called for the establishment of a water czar. Czar was a big word back in 05 and 06, but it meant that we need somebody to be running this operation and to be serious about it, and that we can't be so cavalier with how we run it. Back when I came on council, and Doug will remember this, I mean, we were tens of millions of dollars in debt on water and sewer line projects that we just couldn't stop ourselves from funding and borrowing, to get done. Were all of those needs right? Could we have paid cash? Wouldn't have to get into financing costs and all that? Probably, but politically, that doesn't always work out that way. So this isn't the first rate increase. I mean, we had a rate increase in 12, you guys went through. We have a rate increase in 2007, a 5-year plan again. This isn't new going through this. And if you aren't paying close attention to it, you think that the process that you go through is the same as the one that you went before, where it seemed that the rates we could just change them, adjust them, fudge them to meet a legitimate political concern or need. But what you're not taking into account now is that the rules of the game have changed, and they've changed precisely because of this type of activity where someone says, well, let's just make it less. Let's just make it less. This where we are with the rules today is because of cities like Flint, Michigan, and the other city in Ohio, that their system, collapsed because they didn't do anything to keep it going. They didn't have the right rate structure. So the federal government stepped in after Flint and said, listen, here's the deal now. We are going to mandate that there be an asset management plan in place. If you don't put it in place, you're not operating a water treatment plant. So you have to look at all of your assets. That's the asset of the plant, and that's the asset of all the lines. And you have to determine what ones are going to be replaced and what schedule you're going to do it on. And they recommend that you look at this on a 3 to 5 year basis. And once those that time frame is considered, we put together in the administration, with the help of Finance Director Mark Lighthammer, the Water Treatment Plant Superintendent, Brian Hill, Water Distribution Superintendent, the Engineering Department. We put all this stuff together to say, here's what needs to be done. And then those numbers are given to our consultant, and they're basically putting them into a spreadsheet for us, saying, okay, this is how much it's going to cost. It's not the consultant arbitrarily changing them or whatever. He's taking our numbers and putting them into the spreadsheet and forecasting them out to what it would take to comply with the federal laws. Now, and those numbers as they came up were 775 for the first 3 years. Now, if you want to choose something lower than that, then what you're doing is you're putting us in a situation where we are not compliant with the federal guidelines, the rules, the laws, whatever you want to call them. But they're saying, we're serious about this. If you don't comply, you may lose your funding through the state, OPWC. You may have your license pulled at the water treatment plant and effectively put you out of business. You may be fined. This asset management plan gets audited by the EPA to see if our rate structure is compliant, because they don't want more flints where people undercharge and then put their systems at risk for the feds to come in and bail out later. So the numbers aren't arbitrary, and they are what they are. And it's precisely what this dialogue is tonight, is why these rules were put into place, is to avoid these situations. So do I feel that the numbers are the right numbers, what it takes to run our system? Yeah. To Mark's point, do we have to get competitive because of our rate structure via the other providers, and we're all trying to compete for customers? I've been saying this since 2007. I want to compete for more customers. I have disagreements with some members of council over the years on competing for those customers. And that's another story. But the more customers we have, the more we can spread the rates out, which makes the rate have to go up percentage-wise a lower number. So that's very important as we push that forward. So it's not arbitrary, it's not capricious, it's not made up, it's real. And that's what it's going to take to run it. Now, in all candor, right? The rates have been missed for the last 4 years. And, Mark and I had a great talk about, how this is. And we're not going to sit here and play the blame game as to who's responsible for it. My position is I'm just going to take charge of it. I want to fix it. I'm in a position to fix it by being the administrator. Let's make sure this never happens again. Let's put processes in place that this doesn't happen, that we don't end up in that same boat. And I think that I've effectively, we're doing that. As far as the percentages go, when you're starting off at a low number, except, on the sanitary sewer, correcting some of the speakers from the beginning of the evening. But, the $1.05 up on the sewer, that's North Canton sewer. That's not Canton. I think that speaker misspoke. But the $1.05, yeah, it's 15%. But it's $1.05. If it was 50 cents and went to $1, that'd be 100% increase. I mean, we can play the percentages, but, it's $1 a month, $1.05 a month that it goes up. But that's what it's going to take to make sure this happens and goes into effect. So it's not something that we take lightly. I spend a lot of time in this arena to try to make sure it's right and making sure that we take all the necessary steps to comply with it 100%. So I would respectfully differ on the numbers. And then, why did we start it in January as opposed to starting it effective immediately? Well, the rates are going to be the rates whether you start them tomorrow or whether you start them in January. That's what it takes to run our system. In my opinion, that was my call. I was trying to be sensitive to what I knew some members of council were concerned about, and to try to give as much lead time as possible to those that are out there that'll be effective, that they have time to make adjustments to what they're going to do if it is burdensome to some individuals. So whether you want to start them in June, or you want to start them in April, or you want to wait till the end of the year and do it, that was the thinking on it in that respect. But I do appreciate everybody queuing this up, and Mark, I appreciate that you bringing it forward, because I agree with you in the sense that it isn't something that we spend enough time debating or talking about. And I think it's through debate and discussion that the community is informed about why it is the way it is. We don't have a choice. You know, I'm sure the city of Canton didn't want to raise theirs 775, but their rate study said that's what they got to raise it. It is what it is. So, I hope I covered all the questions. I was a lot. I'm sitting in my car, so I don't have anything to write down. But if I missed something, please throw it back at me.
No,
Patrick,
well done.
good explanation. That makes a lot of sense. Dom here.
Yep. Okay, anybody else? Okay. Is there a motion to move forward with this?
I'm going to move we adopt the first reading.
Okay.
I'll second. Waring.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Soretta opposed?
Soretta opposed. Motion carries 6-1. Okay, thanks everyone. Moving on to department reports. Deputy Director of Administration.
Thank you, Mr. President. Great dialogue tonight. And, you know, I'm going to give an operational update, kind of turning the corner on the human capital side of things. And, you know, Daryl mentioned earlier in terms of, you know, our infrastructure, there's a risk that we run when we're not compliant. Well, we run that risk also with our human capital in areas where we lack compliance there and training. So a few things I was just going to mention that we're doing, you know, in this upcoming month. In fact, this week, we have a training scheduled for all of our management and supervisory staff that will focus on hostile work environment, sensitivity training. It's very valuable compliance training today for all city staff, but most importantly, for those who oversee and manage staff, especially in today's diverse work environment, you know, just to recognize their responsibility in their management or supervisory capacity, you know, as they serve the city. Also, on the safety side of things, we're going to have representatives from our service departments, which include our street, sewer, water distribution, water treatment. They're going to take part in the Ohio Safety Conference, which will give our city ISSP credit towards our BWC, Bureau Workers' Comp premiums. ISSP is your industry-specific safety program. So it's keeping ahead, being compliant on areas of safety. Other training things we're doing, our IT and cyber education continues with our ongoing cyber education to all city staff. You know, we regularly test everyone, sending those fun phishing emails, which are disguised, as you know, to look like legitimate emails to assess where there might be a weak link somewhere and a staff member prone to click on a questionable, you know, link or download something, which could put our network at jeopardy for a data breach. So I'm pleased to say that, you know, we monitor that regularly, and we have seen an over 70% increase in our staff's cyber awareness. So obviously we're going for 100%, but, you know, the spoof emails are getting so clever that, you know, we just keep tricking people. So there's not a month that goes by that we don't get a few failures, but we always follow up on those with the staff members, and we have additional training on cyber crime awareness. And in other IT education today, the city administration department and finance staff took part in training on utilizing Microsoft 365, SharePoint, and Teams, and learning how to be more efficient with their work processes, utilizing all the technology available to us. So, you know, just trying to keep compliant there. And, you know, it was mentioned tonight also, you know, that, you know, we're not here to play the blame game. And we frequently say in administration, we don't look in the rearview mirror and play the blame game on who was responsible for what. We look forward. We look out towards the horizon in order to move forward, because that's what we do every day in administration. We're working hard to move the city forward, and you can't move forward when you're always looking back. So that's all. Well, just one last thing, because I've been asked for an update on the BWC fraud. We had I think about a total of 11 fraudulent claims come in. All have been denied. All were coded as fraud. So it's important to note that the city has not been charged one dime for any fraudulent unemployment claims. And that's all I have.
All right.
Any
Thank you,
questions?
Catherine.
Okay.
Any questions for Catherine?
Good report, Catherine.
Director of Administration.
All right. Thank you.
Yes. Just to segue off of what Catherine said, I mean, I can't think of a time in the last 15 years that I've been around where we have done the level of things that we're doing with, what Catherine just said, the ongoing training, investing in the human capital, all the stuff that we've worked on with council, to kind of get things, get this city back up and moving again. We've all played a significant part in making that happen. I'm grateful to the council and to the mayor for being part of this solution. And it's a joint solution, and it's exciting. It's one of the most exciting times I've ever experienced to be associated with this. I mean, I think we're the premier run community today in the county when I look around and see what everybody else is not doing and what we are doing. So that I'm grateful for that. On the comments from one of the speakers at the beginning, it's absolutely preposterous that the administrator's salary is 50% water, 50% sewer. That's ridiculous. That's never been the case. Do I spend some time in water and sewer? Yeah. But I adjust it every year. And I think if you looked at the budget for this year, I pretty much took myself completely out of that, because we've treated it more as a backward looking. Where was I in 2020? As you know, I'm in economic development. So I've moved I've instructed Gina as we put the budget together to, take my salary out of water and sewer and move the bulk of that, if not all of that, over into the general fund, which is funding the economic development department. It's an ongoing thing. It gets adjusted all the time, but it was never as what it was suggested in the beginning. The renovation project that's ongoing in City Hall has been underway. It is a construction zone. The City Hall is closed to the public. There should be no reason for anyone to come to the City Hall to just randomly come in, walk upstairs, and violate that mayor's order that we are, for everybody's safety, having it closed while it's under construction. That project is going well. We've started, there was demoing, there's been a lot of dialogue in how we're proceeding, making sure that everything is lined up. There's some drawings done in-house, save some money in respect to that to kind of get it going. And our team is, hoping to wrap that up, by the end of June. We believe that we are on target for that. So I know a couple of you have been through City Hall, or maybe all of you by now, I think through today's action this morning. I think some of you came by, so you get to kind of see. And that also is part of that plan. When I got here in 2017, there were 8 people that worked on the main floor of City Hall. It's like 8,000 square feet. It's 8 people. We can do better than that. And so we've been consolidating, moving departments back up to City Hall. Now we're up to like 25 people on the main floor. And with that comes better management. We're able to interact with the departments in real time, on a moment's notice. It happens daily. The dialogue that's going between, the meetings that are going between, and the synergies that are developed. That saves money. That is efficiency, and it also eliminates unforced errors. And that's one of the other things that we're proud of is, knock wood or knock my head, whatever it is. So far, so good. The communication lines are open. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, President Peters, thank you very much. Patrick and Catherine, thanks again for the good work that you're doing and especially the conversation tonight. I'd like to bring up just a couple of points here. Today, I received the order from Governor DeWine that if you notice, the flags will be at half-staff tomorrow on all government buildings. It's his request throughout the state of Ohio to recognize the first COVID-19 case that came before us at this time a year ago. So from sunrise to sunset, you'll see the flags at half-staff on all our government buildings and properties. I received a thank you today from Ren Camacho, the president and CEO of the Akron-Canton Airport. And in his note, he was thanking us for our part in supporting the cooperation with Jobs Ohio and the Akron-Canton Airport Air Service Incentive. And they have received pledges as of today, $1,500,000. And they're thanking us for the amazing support that the greater Stark County and Summit County have given towards their air service incentive program. And we're very hopeful that air service opportunities will expand at our local airport. So I just want to share that with you from Ren. And in discussions tonight also, again, I appreciate Mr. Serretta bringing up his points of concern and everybody else's dialogue. We are in a very competitive market, and North Canton is in a competitive market. And when we think of water, I think of it too as a quality of life issue and a safety issue for our community. And yes, we need to vet the numbers, but to put a team of people together from water treatment, water distribution, engineering, finance, and our administration, and the committee involved to look at this, we have to stay ahead of I think the people, our organizations, or communities around us. The one thing I've learned in this last year as mayor, going through a year of pandemic, COVID-19 and on in, is a government has to lead. And if there's one lesson I've learned so far is we have to lead. And we have to make anticipatory decisions. And we're thinking about now, but also for the future. And I just wanted to share that because I sense that also from our council that we have to anticipate things not only now, but for in the future. And if we have that thinking, yes, it's going to be, it may cost, there's a cost involved, but for us to stay competitive and stay one step ahead of everybody else, because we have a lot of making up to do, which we weren't very competitive in years past. But now I think we have the council and the administration in place to look at the needs and the necessities and the safeguards for our personnel and for our community to be the best that it can be and become even stronger. So President Peters, thank you for the privilege of the time tonight that you've extended to me.
All right, thank you, Mayor. All right, next up, Director of Finance, Gina.
Thank you. Well, we're keeping our eye on House Bill 157, which is scheduled for its second hearing on testimony on Wednesday at the State House. And that is the House bill that would repeal the state's municipal income tax withholding policy. So they are, the hearing is going to hear both sides based on principal place of employment. And right now it's principal place of business is where the business resides. And so they're looking to see if that's going to change based on all the people that are working from home or teleworking and where their home is rather than where the business is. So that's going to be substantial for all municipalities and all businesses. And I don't know that Wednesday will be the last hearing, but it is the second hearing on the testimony. So we're going to definitely keep our eye on that. Rita is also helping us
in all the municipalities that they represent, and trying to run some reports, but it's just nearly impossible because this has never happened before. So they are ready. They're creating models so that as soon as this happens, we will know what the effect will be on the city, and I'll communicate that to you as soon as I know as well. So that's my income tax update. And also I wanted to just put another PR out there for if you need any forms, you can find them from a link from the city's website, as well as going direct to ritaohio.com, RITAOHIO.com. And then the only other thing I wanted to talk about was our investments, just hitting on the month-end reports. So our investments, we have some, it's not idle cash, but it's cash that we don't want sitting in an uninvested account. And we were at 68% at the end of January because our investment rates are just not very attractive right now. We were able to find some CDs, and we like to stagger our portfolio over the next 2 to 5 years. So we were able to move some money, and we are now at 83%, which is a much more comfortable investment percentage, so that we don't have money sitting that's not earning money, as little money as it may be earning, but at least it's going to be earning some money. So we're back at a good target of investment rates right now.
All right. Thank you, Gina. All right. Next up, City Engineer Rob.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one quick announcement for you this evening. After suspending work back in mid-December for the winter, our Pittsburgh Avenue waterline replacement contractor resumed work again today. So just want to let the residents know the next couple months to be careful out in that part of town. You're going to see a lot of construction the next couple months out on Pittsburgh. And the limits are Portage north to our northern Corp line up about Carousel Circle. And we're also going to replace the water lines on Carousel and Milton. So that work is resuming, and it's good to have winter behind us, at least from a construction standpoint. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions, sir.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Any questions for Rob? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on. Council Clerk, Ben.
I just have one piece of actually good news. As you all know, especially those of you who have been to my office recently, I am constantly working to improve the filing system in the council's office and sort and consolidate records. You'll remember back when I started this last summer, I unfortunately had to report one of the minute books missing. Well, lo and behold, last week I pulled a box off the shelf, and behind the box was the missing minutes book. So that book has been found and returned to its proper storage location.
Nice.
Right, good news, Ben. Thank you. Okay, moving on to council. Member Fultz.
No report.
Okay, Member Warren.
No report.
Member Fonte.
Real quick, I wanted to thank everybody for their good job, good work, good explanations, everybody. I have one thing to announce. The Director of Administration, I don't know if a lot of you know, but he has a special talent outside the city, which is green thumbing, which I mean is a garden. And he agreed to do a video with me since it's in March, and we want to start thinking about people that want to plant gardens, you know, and do a little bit more of that. I think with COVID, a lot more people are enjoying their yards and doing berry bushes and different raised gardens and whatnot. And he agreed to, sit down with me, and we would just do a quick thing about what would be the right thing to start planning, or inside planning in preparation for, going into the spring market, and how to revive the soil and do some basics like that. So I'll look forward to be doing that interview shortly. Hopefully, if we get warm this week and he's around. If not, keep an eye on that when we send it out, okay? That's all I have to report.
All right. Good job, Dom. Member Revolt.
Thank you, sir. Let me just echo earlier comments. Excellent discussion tonight. I think kudos go to Pat, Gina, and Ben in preparation of the documents that were the foundation for this conversation. I think it is always good to circle back to something that we don't see much of because it's in the ground, but it's a discussion that tonight allows us to better understand how this important utility functions and what the various considerations are that are integral to its operation. So thank you to the team and to Mark for allowing this conversation.
All right, thank you, Daryl. Member Soretta.
Yeah, good discussion tonight. We took care of a lot of business tonight, so it was a good meeting. One thing, I talked to Ben last week, and we need to look at our schedule because we had talked about the recess or whatever. Ben had scheduled it for June, and we had talked about moving it back to where we normally have it. Or do we have a consensus on that, or what? Where are we at with that? So we need to look ahead with that. You don't have to discuss it now, but that's something you might want to put on the agenda, where we're going to, because we might be coming back. I'm sure we're going to be coming back sooner than just June, but we won't be having much time face to face if we take a break in June right away. So you might want to take a look at that. Outside of that, no report.
All right, thank you, Mark. Good stuff. And I will get with administration as far as their legislative needs, and we will look at that. Okay, Member Stroya.
I want to say thanks to Joe and Chuck for speaking. I want to say thanks to John and Judy Burris for their donation to the police department and all that they do for the community. This is a perfect example of, you know, how a big box store doesn't give to our local police department, and that's why you should shop local. Thanks Gina for the monthly finance report. I always appreciate that. And happy Women's History Month. That's it.
Very nice, Matt. Thank you. And I would just like to echo everyone's comments. And Matt, thank you for bringing up the donation from John and Judy Burris. Greatly appreciated. And you're right, they are very community-minded. Good folks. Okay, final call for business. All right, seeing none, our meetings calendar for the remainder of March. March 15th, Committee of the Whole. 22nd is regular council meeting, and then 29th there will be no meeting. And that concludes our agenda. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Brother Moose.
Wait a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks. Happy International
You too.
Women's Day.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Bye.
Ben, I know